Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's Facebook Live. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada. And every Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, I go live with a crafty project for you. I'm just updating my iPad here. There we go. Okay. And I like to start off the live by announcing the winner of the previous week's project. So last week, I think it was last week, I created, it seems like so long ago, I created this card. You can catch the replay up on my YouTube channel. And the lucky winner is Sarah Simonson. So I will set that aside for her. Congratulations, Sarah. So the way that you can get entered to win today's project is by commenting on the video. So whether you're watching the live or watching the replay, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube, it doesn't matter. By just participating in the conversation, it makes me feel like I'm not sitting here talking to myself. And you can also share the video as well. You'll get an entry to, you'll get your name entered to win when you share the video as well. All right. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside for Sarah. And today we're going to create a masculine card using one of my favorite suites from the annual catalog. Now this, He's the Man suite jumped out at me when I first looked through the catalog. It was one of the few products that really jumped out at me. And that was at first glance. I mean, there was lots of other things that I noticed. You know, the more you go through the catalog, the more you notice. But very first glance, I loved this, and I love it for so many reasons. You've heard me say this before if you've seen my videos. I love it because of these die cut pieces, which makes for such quick and easy crafting projects, scrapbook pages, cards, 3D projects, really anything at all. But I also love it because the stamps are not specifically geared toward people who love to fish or are outdoorsy or like to grill or anything like that. There's a little bit of everything in here. And then the dies, when you look at the dies, I love that the dies coordinate with lots of the images that are in the stamp set. But if you look at these dies and you think about the stamps in your collection, you know that these dies will also work really well with stamps that are already in your collection. Okay? All right. So we're going to be using that, and I am going to be using a product that I haven't used in probably almost a year. I used it when it was released with the last annual catalog, and then it kind of got forgotten. So I'm pulling it out and using it again today, and that is the linen 12x12 specialty paper. You can find that on page 139 towards the bottom here. It is such fun paper and just adds so much texture to your projects. So we're going to go ahead and use that today. So let me share a quick look at the DSP here before we get started. So you can see all of these are die cut pieces. So you don't need to stamp, you don't need to color, they just pop right out and they're ready to use. And then there are some fabulous patterned papers in here as well. So we've got some cars, we've got some outdoors, we've got some geometric patterns. There's some like bow ties and ties, and more geometric patterns. And then when we flip them over, we've got a grilling one and then some more geometric patterns. So you can see that there is really lots of versatility in this collection. Okay, so let's get this out of the way and we will go ahead and get started. All right, I just need to grab something that I thought was right here on my desk. Here it is. Okay, we're going to start by stamping on our linen paper. So I've got a 3 3/4 inch by 5 inch piece of this linen paper, and it is adhesive backed, so you don't have to worry about adding adhesive to it. And I'm just going to grab a piece of grid paper and we're going to start stamping. So I'm going to use this greeting first, or this image first. Every day with you is another adventure. And early espresso ink. And we're going to stamp it in a few places. So we're doing a technique called collage stamping today. And I'm just going to stamp it kind of around the edges. Okay, so we've got that one, and then we're going to bring in our next largest image that we're going to use, and we're going to use this Hello Handsome and some Cajun Craze, and we're going to stamp this next. Now when I do collage stamping, I like to go with my largest image first and then work my way down. So we're just going to stamp this in a few areas off the page. So we are doing kind of a collage border. And you can see that I'm overlapping some of these as well. I'm going to get that little mustache in there. Okay, I think that's good. And then we're going to bring in some crushed curry. So I'm pulling colors right from the paper, the pattern paper. And we're using this number 1, and we're going to stamp it all over as well. Oh, well, that wasn't very dark, was it? And because this is, the linen paper is quite textured, you're not going to get a nice, crisp, smooth impression, but that's part of the charm. We're really making it look like it's kind of rustic. Okay. I think that is good. Now I'm going to set that aside just to make sure that this ink sets before we do the next step. That has to do with that. Now I've got a piece of early espresso cardstock and a piece of adhesive sheets, and I'm just going to trim this. I don't need this whole sheet. And we're going to put it on the back of this. So this is double-sided adhesive, so it will turn whatever we die cut into basically a sticker. So I'm going to peel off the backing, which is easier said than done. I've got no fingernails here. Here we go. Okay, so one side is just the backing, so we'll just toss that. And then this side is sticky, so we're just going to stick that right on there. I'm going to rub off any excess adhesive that's sticking out so that it doesn't make my plates all gummy when I run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss. And we're going to use one of these fabulous detailed images. And we're going to feed that through our little mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. So I'm going to bring in my mini machine and my plates. So I've got my plate number 1, which you can tell it's well loved. Plate number 2, which is also well loved. And then I've got my cardstock and my die down there. And then I'm going to put my second plate number 2 on here. And I'm going to stagger them. Okay, so you can see that the white platform is sticking out a little further, and then this one next, and then this one next. You will find that when you use this machine, that is the easiest way to get it to grab, is if you stagger it like that. If everything is lined right up, then it tends not to feed through. It just doesn't grab as nicely. So you'll have much more success if you stagger them like that. All right, let's see. Good morning, Lori. Good morning, Michelle. We've got Reg. Good morning. Good morning, Darlene. Good morning, everyone. And I probably should have fed this through. Oh, no, we're okay. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this out. And I'm going to bring in my little garbage bin here. And we're going to take our paper piercing tool from our Take Your Pick tool. And we're just going to poke out these little bits. Now when I peel off the backing, some of those little pieces would come out, but I don't want to peel off the backing just yet because I'm not ready to adhere it. So I'm just going to poke these out. I'll take the extra few seconds that it takes to poke these out. And I probably should have run it through twice just because it's got that extra backing on it. Some of these are a little tricky to pop out, but I know that they'll come off once I peel off that backing. Okay. All right, we're gonna leave it at that for now. Set that aside. Now we should be okay to bring this back and go on to our next step. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some ink blending. I'm gonna start with some Sahara Sand ink and use my blending brush. Start off of the page and just go in a circular motion, and I'm gonna go quite far in. Good morning, Carol. Okay, so I'm just blending around the edges just to soften it, make it look a little bit more rustic. Good morning, Valerie. Okay. So you can see I went quite far in. I didn't want to add crumb cake all the way, but you can see that I still have a little area here where it's its natural color. Now we're going to blend around the edges with some Cajun Craze. And this time I'm not going to go as far in. So again, I'm going to start off and just go in just a little ways. All the way around. It's going to make it look a little bit darker, and it'll bring in that kind of reddy orange hue. Okay. All right, we're almost done with this. Not quite. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to take my paper piercing tool, and can you see how it's starting to fray here? I want to fray those edges. So I'm just going to pick some of this, and this takes a little bit of time because when you cut this linen paper, it doesn't always cut. It's like cutting fabric, so it's not necessarily super straight. So we need to kind of pull some of these bits, and some of these frayed pieces I'm actually going to leave on here. Okay, so I'll bring this up a little closer once I get a little bit done here so you can see what it'll look like. So I'm pulling it, and some of it will break off, like this little bit. I'm going to leave that on there. It just adds to the charm. And I'm going to repeat that step kind of all the way around. Has anybody worked with the linen paper? I used it. I was very excited about it when it was released in the last annual catalog. But of course, there's always so many good things, right? So many great things that sometimes the things that you love get forgotten about. And I just thought that it pairs so beautifully with this collection. So I'll keep just pulling them. Oh, here's your encouragement, Reg, to actually pull that out and use it. Okay. All right. So can you see how some of it is pinched up like this? There's some frayed bits that are hanging off, but you can see around the edges where it just gives you that frayed kind of fabric look. I love it. Let's do a little bit more up here. So fun. Okay. All right. I think that's good. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in our card base. And so this is a piece of early espresso, just a standard size card base, so 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And we're gonna peel this backing off. This is so nice that it's adhesive. And you know what, this linen paper, the adhesive on it is good, but it's forgiving. So if you don't get it down the right way the first time, it's okay, you can lift it off and reposition it. So I'm just gonna hold my card so that I can see 3 sides and try to line them up so that it's somewhat even. And look how fabulous that looks. Now, this end, I want to take some of this stickiness off, and I'm just going to kind of curl that up just a little bit. And look at those frayed bits. I love it. Okay, and then we are going to distress it even more. We're going to take our snips, and you guys have seen me do this before. I love doing this. I'm just going to go around the edges just to distress my card a little bit. And I'm going to do the inside piece as well, or the back piece, just so it's consistent all the way around. All right, let's get rid of this. Okay, so there is our card base. Now we need to embellish it a little bit. So what I've done is I have popped out all the pieces from my DSP. Now I've used a lot of them, but I still have some in here. So I'm going to go through and pick a couple. I think I'm going to use this You Make Me Hoppy, and then I've got this that I'm going to use on the front. And then let's pick a couple stars as well. We'll grab those two. So you can see that there's lots of pieces here that you can use. This doesn't go with it. I just happened to not use it when I was creating a project. But look at this. Holy smokes, you're the best. You did it. Nice work. There's a little barbecue with some flames. This is just one of the label shapes. You're a champ, my man. There's this fun little van. You're stronger than you know. There's some tools in here. There's some arrows. There's some banners. So there's so many little bits and pieces. I've actually created so many. I've probably created 3 layouts with this already. And I've done this month's card class to go, which I'll share a little peek at those projects a little bit later. And a few other samples as well. So, I mean, one sheet of that DSP, those die cut pieces, really goes a long way. Okay, so now I'm going to peel off the backing on this. And I do really encourage you to use these adhesive sheets when you're using this, just because it is so detailed. There are some wider points where you could put some adhesive, but especially on the linen paper, it makes it much easier if you use the adhesive sheets. Okay, so this guy's going to go right in behind here like this. Okay, and that sticks nicely just like that. And then we're going to grab some dimensionals, which I am almost out here, but I remembered to grab them this time. Okay, let me grab a sheet. Okay, I got 2 sheets that appear to be stuck together. There we go. All right. Add a few more dimensions. So I'm going to be generous with my adhesive just because it is a piece of fabric that it's sticking onto. I'll peel off the backing here. Okay. And then this is going to get popped on right about there. like that. And then we have our stars, and we're going to use some linen thread. Okay, so I'm going to take some linen thread. I'm just going to tie a bow just for some added texture. And we'll trim this. And we're going to add that right there, I think, and that underneath. So I'm going to use a little mini glue dot. We'll pop this on here. Oops. Just like that. And then I'm going to fold this mini glue dot in half because that's what I'm going to use to stick down my twine. And that is going to go right here. Tuck that on like that, and then we've got this little little star. Let's pop this on here, and we'll add this over here, and then we're going to bring in some of the rustic metallic dots. Thank you for sharing, Darlene. So these are also part of the collection, and we're just going to add a few of these here. There we go. And the front of our card is done. Now let's chat about the envelope. Let's do something about the envelope. We want to make the envelope match. So let's bring back our scrap paper, and we are going to just kind of fold this over. Actually, let's fold it over this way. And that's not going to work. I'll have to do it this way. Okay, so I've got my envelope flap. What I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat that collage stamping on my envelope flap. So I've got my early espresso. Stamp that in a few places. And then we'll go in with our next largest, so the Hello Handsome. You're going to love it, Catherine. It's such a fun collection. Okay, so we've got that, and I'm going to leave that open because I'm going to do something with that again. And then we're going to bring in our Cajun, or not Cajun, our crushed curry, and we'll add a few of these little number ones in here, just for a little pop of yellow. Okay. And then I'm going to give this a minute to set before I do my ink blending, because I want to do the ink blending around the edges to tie it all in together. But I want to show you what I did for the inside. So I had a scrap of white sitting on my table when I did my sample, so I decided to stamp it, and then I cut it in half so that I could use part of it for the inside of this card and part of it for the inside of my sample card. So again, I'm going to distress around the edges with my snips. And around the edges of this white piece. And I'm not going to do any ink blending around this larger white piece that's going to go on the inside, just because I want there to be the contrast between this strip that's going to go at the top and then the rest of the piece. I don't need to do the top because it's going to get covered over. Just put a little bit of glue on there. And add that across the top, and look how much that pops on that white piece. I love it. And then we'll add this to the inside. And now we've got the inside that kind of coordinates with the outside of our card. And now this should be good enough for us to go ahead and do some ink blending around the edges. So again, I'm just like we did on the linen paper, I'm going to start with my Sahara sand, and I guess I still need to have this. So I'm going to start off and just in a circular motion, go around the edges. And then I'll add in a little bit of Cajun. All right, and now we have a cute little envelope flap to match our card. Isn't that fun? I tell you, I love this collection so much. It's going to be great for Father's Day cards, birthday cards, thinking of you cards. It's going to be great for lots of different occasions for the men in my life. Now let me share a little peek at the cards for this month's class to go. So Laura and I each created 3 cards. I've got 5 of the cards to share with you. I haven't had a chance to make the 6th card yet, but there are 6 cards. One of them is a fun fold. So I'm going to do a quick little flip through. Here's the fun fold. And then we've got that one. We've got another version of collage stamping and that one. So those are 5 of the 6 cards. Now this class to go, there are several different options. You have the option of purchasing the class to go, which is $45 plus $5 shipping. I can ship anywhere in Canada for just $5. You get half a package of the DSP, which means that you get a full sheet of those die cuts. I will have to pop them out, and if I do have to mail them, I will cut the DSP down to 6 by 12. You'll get a full package of the rustic metallic dots, which are these things, which you can tell I've used lots of. I've got one left. A spool of linen thread, and then all of the pre-cut pieces to create the 6 cards that we're making in class. And an emailed PDF with the measurements, photos, and links to a video for each one of the cards that we're creating. Okay, so all of that is just $45. Or if you don't have this bundle yet, if you purchase the suite for $94, or maybe you've got bits and pieces of it, if your order is $94 or more, using the He's All That Class to Go host code, which I've put in the description, then you will get the pre-cut card kits and a link to the emailed PDF with all of the information that you need, absolutely free, as my thank you to you. If you are a treasure stamper, so if you are part of my Canada-wide team, this tutorial, you can request it for free. Or if you would like the pre-cut card kits, then that would be $15 for those pre-cut card kits. Okay, and then of course, for those of you who are outside of Canada, I can't send you any product, but I do have a tutorial for you to purchase. So I will link the blog post, which has all of the information for you. Registration is coming up quick. It closes on May 16th, which is Monday. So you'll have until Monday to register. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's class, and that it encourages you to play with this linen paper and maybe do a little bit of collage stamping. There's lots of stamp sets that you can do collage stamping with. It doesn't necessarily have to be this one. All right. So thanks so much for watching. Have a fabulous weekend, and we will see you next week. Take care.